Welcome to the MF Show, your pit stop for celebrity interviews. I'm Rich Waitas.
And I'm Jerry Zaiden. We're going to talk about hot car topics and the automotive industry and where it takes us.
Today we have a guest with us. It's been a part of the team MagnaFlow for quite some years. He's been on the media side of the business. He's a professional enthusiast. Matt, the Moderator D'Andrea. And welcome here today.
Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. The audience probably has seen you working with the likes of a lot of other, celebrity fans out there. You work with Adam Carolla, Bill Goldberg, but it goes way farther back than that when, you first started getting in the media side of this business. And podcasting was actually one of the new things that you kind of brought out into the automotive industry with the relationships that you had. So tell a little bit about kind of your early history and kind of what people can go to find more about you.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Congratulations on this show. I'm excited that you guys are doing this. You said you were doing celebrity interviews, so I'm not quite exactly sure what I'm here for, but I appreciate the invitation. I know we go back a long time. So, yeah, I want to say that, Adam Carolla, he's a great guy. He's a huge car collector, as you know. He's built a collection of vintage racing cars, and when he was switching from radio to podcasting, he wanted to take his love of automotive and do a podcast around it as well. I think he had started it, maybe had a couple of shows recorded, and then a friend that he was working with on the engineering side that I knew from the internet days as we were web developers in the space, he called and said, "What are you doing? Do you want to come in and try to help out with podcasting?" And this was almost 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't really know what a podcast is. I haven't listened to any yet because it wasn't really mainstream at the time. There was a handful of big podcasts, and Adam wasn't the start, the one to start in podcasting, but I think he was probably one of the first celebrities, if you will, like, especially somebody coming from radio to get into it.
A professional career.
Yeah, a professional talker.
Yeah.
So he came in and he was, the plan was to, again, grab some of his celebrity friends and do a bit like, what was your first car? And tell those stories. Because a lot of those guys came, especially on the comedy side, didn't really come from much. So they all have these fascinating stories of living in a car, things like that. So I came in and try to help book guests and help produce the show. But being an automotive enthusiast fan for a long time, I was looking more in the aftermarket space going, I think there's some interesting conversations here if we can talk to some of the founders of the aftermarket companies and bring them in, and some of the representatives of those companies. In the early days, I remember bringing in like John Hotchkiss. Yeah. John Hotchkiss came from a racing career with his brother as well, and John and Mark, I think, did some vintage racing with Paul Newman, and before Adam even kind of got this love affair with Paul Newman racing cars.
More than a love affair.
Yeah. Now he's got 13 of those, of the Newman racing cars. One you haven't seen yet, because I know you've been over there to the collection, but Paul Newman did a lot of East Coast racing. Yeah. But occasionally when he was on the West Coast, he would grab a few cars. He had the Beverly Hills Audi Porsche 911S. It's the white. It has like an RSR kind of body kit on it. That one you've seen, right?
Yes,
the white one with the pink stripe.
Correct. Yeah.
But when he came out here, his buddies at the time were, Gene Hackman, James Brolin, Clint Eastwood. There's beer drinking buddies of his. So he had a car out here. It was a Ferrari 308. And it was kind of this rare one built for racing, I think with fiberglass body. And I think it came from, I got to think about the history on that car. That might have come from like Genetti's because they were the importer of Ferrari. So, but he went to his favorite sponsor, Budweiser, and he said, I'm going to race with my friends. You guys should sponsor the car. And he's like, who's your team? He's like, my co-drivers are going to be James Brolin and Clint Eastwood. And I'm going to make my team manager Gene Hackman.
Jeez.
And we got a car transporter. It's like an old F-350 cab with a box truck on the back. It's like we're putting the Ferrari in the back. We're going to put everyone's name on the side, and we're going to go racing. And Budweiser's like, sure, here's the money, here's the beer. Good to go.
Two things.
And yes, this guy, Mr. Goodman, he was a collector, I think, in Portland. He had it for a long time. I reached out to him and his team years ago and said, we know you have the car. No rush. If you ever think about selling it, let us know. We'd love to have that in the collection. And then it took like 3 years, and somebody called and said, we're looking to make a change. We're racing Corvettes. And I said, done. We'll send somebody up to get the car or the truck. So we got the transporter and the Ferrari.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah, it's super fun. That one you haven't seen yet, but it's cool.
Yeah, the whole car collecting thing, that was a unique angle. And, everybody's got an in, right? It's this industry is, depending on where you're coming from top celebrity status to entry-level person, everybody's got that one car story. And that's the cool part about being able to tell all these conversations and retell them to the audience is just, it's how did that come about? And this all-star team and all of this behind a friend of a friend who had a cool car that wanted to add to a collection.
Yeah, and this is, I'm kind of new to the car scene, right? I've been a truck guy for so long. So I kind of started out in the car scene, working for Rod Miller Motorsport. And that was like my first kind of introductory to like driving fast cars, but just off-road trucks my whole life. And then in 2017, I got a Porsche 911, which then I started meeting these really cool people. Like, it's as lame as it sounds going to like little cars and coffees, but
you're a Porsche guy now. So it's a different world.
It is. And, but the people we meet here, right? Like they're racing, they have stories, they collect cars, and just hearing what you told me about that car and who it is. Like if people know Paul Newman around racing, right?
Yeah.
And just how cool that is. But it's like even like the Paul Newman Rolex Daytona, like what those are worth. Now, if you have one of his cars, what's that worth these days, right? But more about the stories of like who he was with and why they decided to do it. It's about as crazy as any of us that got into racing, like for some stupid reason, right? But it's just that bug that bites you. And so my question coming from there is, are these cars, they're in California, I take it?
Yeah. So actually, most of them are at a museum in Reno right now. They're doing a whole Paul Newman exhibit. The cars are out there. But yeah, to answer your question, that's how we got started with Adam. And then after a couple of years, I don't remember 2 or 3 years, I started taking over as a co-host of it as well, which was fun. And we started to travel and do live shows and do some things, I think, a little differently with podcasting at the time. And that came the car collection. And Adam built it out here in Southern California. But, oftentimes the cars get loaned out or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Especially when they're those caliber of vehicles.
Yeah, that's just part of the collection. The other part of the collection is the BRE cars. Mm-hmm. And so those you may not be as familiar with. So
explain that to the
BRE
audience.
is Brock Racing Enterprises.
Okay.
That's Peter Brock. Peter Brock, as a young designer, designed the 63 split window Corvette.
Oh, wow.
He went on to work with Shelby. He designed the Daytona Coupe. They were running the Cobra, and they said, we want to run it at Le Mans. And it's not aerodynamic enough. It's not fast enough on the straightaway. And he said, okay, let me give it a shot. And he designed the Daytona Coupe for Shelby. And God bless him. He's the sweetest guy. He's around today. He's 80-something, maybe 88. I'm not quite sure. He lives in Nevada, and we see him all the time. We bought one of his trailers, by the way.
Oh, yeah. He's got that trailer company.
He's got his trailer company. Pete Brock's got a trailer company called AeroVault, and he designed like this aerodynamic trailer with like a wing on it. Like a shark fin wing on it. That's very cool. And he did all the testing. He's like, that way when you're driving and a big rig comes by, your trailer doesn't go all over the place.
He actually fixed that problem.
He put like streamers on it to show it. Nice. But Pete being Pete, we're like, we love Pete. Let's get one of these things. We can't use it for everything.
And what city is he located in?
He's in Henderson, Nevada.
Arizona.
Okay.
Nevada.
In Nevada. Yeah. And we called him up. Like, we want to buy one of the trailers. Let us know. We'll send somebody to bring it out. He's like, no. I'm bringing it out myself. and he literally drove himself.
Yeah.
Like he
in his 80s.
He hooked it up to his SUV. He drove it out here. He unloaded it. He came in, drank some water, took a piss. We toured the cars. He told me a couple of stories, and he's like, "All right," turned around and went right home.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I just want to deliver it myself." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, so for the people out there listening, they wonder why people live 100 years. Yeah, that's why, because he's enjoying his life.
Right.
And yeah, that's so cool.
Every year during SEMA, he does a little get together, like pizza party at his house.
No way.
And it's cool to see, because if you invite you up like upstairs and then you look at the halls of the artwork, it's like his original like pencil drawing of like the Corvette. It's like
no way.
Not a recreation. It's like it's the drawing that he did as a student, like as an art center student. Then they go into GM. Like he's got some really, really cool stuff.
He's just really one of those like super, also not just approachable, humble, but like thankful for the opportunities he's had. I didn't know who he was, seeing him just recently. This is a few years back when he showed up to help Jimmy Shine tune Ernie Nagamatsu's. He has a CSX car, an original CSX Cobra that he actually races in all the nostalgia classes, and he needed help tuning, and then Peter Brock comes down. Again, just drove his Mercedes, he's that white 300 that he still drives, drove that thing, came on down for a track day and kind of helped out around there. Got to talking, realized who he was. Second time I get to meet him is on the set of Overhauling. We're doing that Daytona for Superformance.
Yeah.
And Marita's car is, being the one that they're working on. And he's there because obviously the guy who designed it, and Chip knows him as a friend, invites him down for the reveal. And he's paid like extra special attention to the exhaust we built for it, because we don't make an exhaust system that replicates that dual side exit. But I painstakingly took his design apart, built it with our internals, rebuilt the whole thing. He wrote a thank you letter and sent me a book to work here, just saying, thanks for keeping like the spirit alive. It's awesome to see people that are kind of reinvesting into, keeping these. And it was just heartfelt, kind of like thank you for like, keeping this dream of his all together. It's just, he's one of those people, again, who it's not so rare you find the successful people in our industry that do have that attitude where they feel blessed to be here. They've done their due diligence and work, and they've just got this arena of friends, and it's a small circle. Like, it didn't matter where it was going. It was a Jimmy Shine, it was a Chip Foose, and everybody knows Brock, and Brock just comes around and helps out still like he did 40 years ago.
And he's sharp. He's super sharp. Oh, yeah. We were doing a car, and we were doing some paint sample stuff, and he probably hasn't seen the actual car in 60 years. And he showed up, and he's like, "That's the wrong shade of red on that stripe." He's like, I'll get you something. I'll make something for you to get the right one." He's like, "It's off just a little." And I go, "Well, how do you know?" He's like, "Because I designed it." I was like, "I know, Pete, was a long time ago." He's like, "But I put a lot into it." Yeah. And he wanted to keep it alive, especially the BRE stuff. So interesting is, so the way BRE came to be is Shelby was going to go racing after Le Mans, after Ford, and Pete wanted to drive, and Shelby was like, "Nah, you're not that great of a driver." And maybe he was right. He was a good driver, but maybe he wasn't Ken Miles, right? And Shelby had ended up doing a deal with Toyota, racing the 2000 GT, right? The funky car with the bug eyes. It's weird. It's got like bug eyes and then pop-up ones, right?
On top of it.
So Pete was just like, he went to Nissan. And back in the day, you think it's a crazy story, but the way it was done was just like, you pitch Nissan USA, they're like, "We're not having it, we're not into it, whatever." And then, Pete reaches out to like an old contact in Japan going, "We love it. We'll send you like 2 cars and then an engine, like that's it." And then that was it. He brought it over, and then the U.S. was like, "Where'd you get the cars?" And then, of course, somebody got the call and go, "No, let him do his thing." And BRE was formed, and he went racing, and they did well. And now we've got, I think we've got 3 of the BRE 510s.
Yeah.
and a couple of the others. We've got the first Hino truck, which is, I think, actually owned by Toyota now, which is part of Nissan. The first Hino truck with like a box truck on the back was sent here to be the car hauler for the BRE Roadster. And it had this tiny little engine in it. It barely moved. And Pete's like, no, I drove that thing all over the country with the Roadster in the back. He's like, it took forever, but we have it. We restored it. And Bodie Stroud, our friend Bodie, he kind of modernized it, did like an LS swap on it and put air conditioning in it. And I think that's at the museum in Reno.
That's awesome.
There, we had it at the Peterson, and we had the truck displayed. And then we had the Roadster like come out the back. We built like a ramp to come on, and it had like two big legs like podium, so it can, because the truck's high. So yeah, we've got that. But Pete was in Baja a little bit too back in the day. I think he had a Z car, and I think he had a Baja 510. A little Datsun 510.
Okay, so maybe doing the Nora race. There's a vintage race called Nora.
I gotta think about where that car is. Who
That's
has
pretty
that
cool.
car? Or if it's even built. That's a good question. But yeah, he did.
Yeah, those 510s are cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like my wife, that was her first car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's funny.
Not many people know of the car. It's a little box car.
Yeah, they're really cool. There's like a big car scene. They were pretty popular. And it's funny when you drive out of Ensenada, not going to tell you exactly where, but I want to go down there with the trailer and pick them up. But there's wrecking yards all over the place. Now that I'm telling everyone Ensenada and wrecking yards, there you go. But no, there's like 3 of them sitting on a stack of cars. There's 3 510s.
Okay.
Just sitting there at wrecking yards. The bodies are good. And it's like, how cool would it be to go down to Mexico and grab one and bring it back, restore it? Because, I mean, not from the value standpoint, even, they're valuable cars, but they're just really cool. They're like a fun little car.
I hope that we did the smart move and like grab the Newman cars and some of the BRE cars before they were starting to catch on more.
Yeah.
And
well, you kind of had a little corner up in Burbank and a side, and it was, albeit it was, everybody knew it was Adam's collection. Until you walked in there, you didn't realize how big his Newman collection was, from the 300Zs all the way up to Toyota. I mean, everything that's in that. And then you stacked BRE cars in there too.
So how many cars are in the collection?
I think there's maybe 30 or so.
That's pretty cool.
30-something cars.
And that's what I've learned in this car scene, right, is one of my neighbors, his name's Kip Cypress. I've brought him up before. He's got Swank Rides on Instagram. But he's got this really cool build-out at a Finish Line car storage in Costa Mesa, back to the airport. And you'll see the who's who of the car industry there. They do a Cars and Coffee every other weekend. But man, these guys like buy a car condo, and it's like a gentleman's club. They got a bar upstairs, and they store their cars. And it's funny because one of the units, which is Kip's, is all $1 million build out, all brick internal. He's got everything's black. He's got real Shelbys and real Ferrari whatevers and Bentleys, and it's just mind blowing on the cars this guy has. But right next to his unit, there's no decoration at all, other than there's the car from the 50s and 60s at race Le Mans, and a picture of it in the race, but there's the car, and there's like 4 of these. And if you know what you're looking at, you're like, those 4 cars, the value is in the tens of or $100 million. Who knows, right? But people are saving these vintage race cars, and I think in the last like 5 to 10 years, they've really skyrocketed in value, which makes them difficult to buy and put in your collection. But 10 years ago plus, it wasn't quite the same thing as today.
No. I mean, there's still some good ones or some affordable ones. So, Adam Carolla has a production company as well. And we built that mostly around producing automotive documentaries.
Okay.
It's called Chassis Media. He teamed up with a guy named Nate Adams, who's a fantastic documentary filmmaker, director. And he heads that up for Adam. And the Paul Newman documentary called Winning: The Racing Life of Paul Newman. That was the first documentary that we did. And from there, we did Shelby American. We did the 24-Hour War, which is Ford versus Ferrari at Le Mans.
Okay.
We did Uppity, the Willie T. Ribbs story, which is fantastic. You should see that. There's a number of documentaries. We have a Dan Gurney doc coming out, I believe, and a Bobby Rahal doc coming out.
Nice.
I just saw Bobby this past weekend. Bobby at Grand Prix in Long Beach. So, but the Newman film kind of started it for us, and as we were doing that film, it gave us much more of an inside look as to the cars, because it's a film all about Newman's racing career, his 40 years of racing.
Yeah.
And as a team owner, and he's got multiple championships as a team owner. He's got 4 championships as a driver. And it was such an education that's when we started really looking at the car collection. And Adam and I were talking like maybe we get rid of the street cars and go a little bit more into the racing cars and see if we could pick up some Newman cars.
That's so cool.
And yeah, at the time, a lot of them were just like pulled out of warehouses
100%.
and stacked with parts. And so a lot of them are like, people just wanted to get rid of stuff. So we're like, hey, we want this car. And they go, okay, but you got to take all this other stuff with you. At the time, we're like, okay. So yeah, there was like rooms full of cylinder heads and backup parts.
All the good stuff.
I mean, good stuff for sure, because Adam's intention was to restore the cars and race the cars.
Yeah.
So we would have to go back and go, oh, do we have another case for a transmission? Can we rebuild it? But at the time, there was some interesting stuff. Like we were getting the cars, and Adam was trying to pick up some of the memorabilia. And sometimes it was just cheap or included. Mm-hmm. And I think he got one of the cars. I don't remember if it was in the back of the car, but I think it was the toolbox. It was like one of the trackside like rolling toolboxes like you'd bring out, right? And it had just some random stuff in it. It was kind of beat up. But I think the bottom drawer, when we got the car and unloaded everything, had Paul Newman's racing suit kind of balled up into the bottom. Took it out, and it's just like Newman in it. It's got a little hole cut in it because he would run the headset through there. And I don't know how we ended up acquiring several of the helmets, because again, we didn't buy any of those at auction, so I don't remember where they all came from.
It's cool how that happens. You buy a car, it's got stuff stored on top of it, and pop the trunk. And
so Newman was doing the movie The Color of Money with Tom Cruise.
Okay,
right? If you remember that movie, right? Played pool.
Yeah.
And Newman would go out, just hit like a little dirt track or something, and he's like, Tom, come with me. And he loved it. He loved hanging out with Newman, loved racing the cars. And Newman said, well, let's make some calls. If you like it, we'll start you getting into racing. And Tom Cruise raced with Paul Newman for Nissan for a little while.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And we have his racing suit, his Nissan racing suit.
Very cool.
You think Tom Cruise is a tiny guy. Think of like 22-year-old, Top Gun Tom Cruise of like, I'm a little guy. I don't think I could fit into that suit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was hanging on the wall. And I was like, oh, it's like a children's suit. But that's what led to Days of Thunder.
Okay. He really enjoyed it. Space.
And I think it was Newman who suggested he go talk to Bob Bondurant and learn more about driving. And Bondurant taught him. He had already opened up a school, I think, and was an instructor of his.
That's awesome. So the Gurney thing you guys are doing, what is that one about? Because I've become friends with Justin Gurney from the car scene, right? And like I said, you're meeting really cool people. Are you familiar with the Impala that they just found?
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those stories, right?
I didn't work on the Gurney film. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the dailies. I haven't seen the cut yet. Okay. The intention was to kind of look at the gamut, like definitely focus on the racing, but then get into sort of the twilight years and go, listen, you had this carbon fiber company was making parts for Tesla, he was doing all this cool stuff. I don't know if that's going to be into the film. At some point, you make a 3-hour film, then you cut it down in 90 minutes, right? Sure. So not everything makes it in. That's really going to be up to Adam and Nate. But when we were doing the Shelby film and 24-Hour War, Adam went and visited with Dan Gurney and interviewed him for like 2 hours on camera. I think Adam might have went with Nate. So those clips from that ended up in our documentaries. Okay. And then that's when we realized, we might have enough here. And then when we spoke to him and then he passed away, we realized I think that's the last filmed interview of him ever. Like he obviously done other calls and maybe podcasts or interviews over a phone for print. But I think that's the last filmed interview. So we just thought he deserves a documentary.
Oh, absolutely.
He deserved it a long time ago, but it just sort of came to be for us, just behind the scenes and stuff. It's like, bringing in the money and all the resources and the story you tell. And
yeah, it was cool because like back to like finding those barn find race cars, I ran into Justin Gurney at one of the events and he's like, check out this car we found. It was in Europe, and it's the car, it's an older Impala that would basically race the Porsche 356s, but it went out there and it won some races and, did some of those like iconic stories for Dan Gurney. Yeah. But that was his race car, this big Impala, right? And just so cool to see the car in such perfect shape and pretty much original, right? And when you see the car and you hear the story, it just makes that car just so awesome. And those are those special cars, right?
And Gurney though, as an engineer, as
mind blowing.
Just one of the masterminds behind, racing back in the day, I think is an important story to tell. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff there. Yeah.
So for you, obviously you've been around all these cars and everything. So the gamut of vehicles that you've driven, right? So you've had a lot of things that you've driven. Which one kind of blew you away the most? And then, kind of flying under the radar that you've driven?
Well, so yes, like doing the podcast and stuff for the last 15 years or so. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of the manufacturers and drive, press cars and stuff. So, one of my favorite cars to drive, is hands down just the McLaren 720S. I mean, now it's the 750, but it just does everything right. It is just the coolest piece. I mean, and again, having driven quite a few cars, that's just like, if you had the money, that's the car you want. Listen, I drove a Bugatti Pure Sport, but it's a different world. One's $500,000, one's several $1 million. Yes. And when you drive the Bugatti, they have to send like a racing car driver with you just to like, the guy just sits there and sends texts to his friends. And he's like, you just drive around Malibu for a couple hours and then we bring the car back, So having driven like the 720 and the 765 LT, and gotten a little track time with the cars, that's the car for sure. But the one that blew my mind was I got an invitation to head out to Thermal in Palm Springs, and we spent a day getting on the track at Thermal, just kind of learning the track in Lotus Evoras, which is a super fun car to drive. And then the next day they said, now that you've learned the track, you're going to drive a Lotus V10 F1 car.
Oh, no way.
And I said, okay. And they go, we have it detuned a little bit, but you're not going to know the difference. Yeah. And it was funny when they were explaining it. They're like, we detune it 20%, 17%, and the longevity of the car and the engine goes up by like 300%. Oh, yeah. It's just like, it's that last, 10% that they try to squeeze out of the car, which is why they got to rebuild it.
10,000 RPM versus 6,000 RPM.
Like, it's just, it had the RPM. They just, through the computer, they were able to just kind of dial it back a little bit and going,
that's good.
You just got a little bit less. So, it was insane. You get just a couple laps in it. They have like this big jack shaft, and that's how they start it from the back. And it's interesting because, so you get in it, you got your steering wheel, you got lights, and you can see that's where your shift light is. Yeah. And it's got paddles, but it's got a clutch. And they said, just to get going in first gear, you use the clutch. And then once you're moving, use the paddles. But here's the thing. Do not stall it, because then we got to send a minivan out with 3 guys to get it started, and you lost your time, right? You don't get to, like, because we got a couple people driving it. So, rolled it out, and then hit the track. And it's kind of a weird counterintuitive thing. They said, all right, so you were in the Evoras and you're hitting the track, and you've been out on the track as well. And I know you have, at least in the dirt, right? But in the dirt, you don't quite, it's a little different, but they're like, okay, to simplify things, the tire squeal you get is because you're losing a little bit of traction. That means in your turn, your tire squeal, very simply, is you either need to back off on turn or back off on throttle, right? They said, okay, now that you've learned all that, we're going to put you in the F1 car. If you get a little tire squeal, increase throttle. I was like, so do the opposite of everything you just said.
Downforce.
Yes. I said, because the car will push down to the ground. If you're the basic going, you're going too slow. Is their pitch. Like you're just not going fast enough. So you get a couple of laps in it. So I get out, I hit it, having a great time. Do the first lap, kind of get a feel for it. The second lap, you're just trying to go quick.
Faster,
and you come around, you hit that long straight at thermal, and the Evora, you're just winding out, you shift, wind it out, you shift. In this car, you just go boom, boom, boom. You're just like 1, 2, 3. The shift lights are super fast. It's just like you're hitting it so fast. You see like in movies and cartoons where it starts to blur on your sides because it's not like that's happening. And you realize that they're like, hey, we're just like, grab your gear. We got a suit for you. Here's the helmet. It's not your helmet, and it's not really like the right type of helmet. It doesn't have the right arrow. It doesn't really fit right. It's just like the helmet they give you. And on that straight, when you're going so fast, you're just trying to like look ahead and just get a glimpse at the shift lights, and you're hit it quick. And then your head starts to pull off your body because the air is just sucking that helmet like right off your head, and you feel it. The strap is tight, and you feel it pulling on it. And then when you get down to the end, you're like, you got to brake hard. So you think so, but you brake, and then you just tap the brakes and turn, and it goes right in. It was nuts.
So how fast did you get going?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I could have been going 33 miles an hour.
Okay.
I just thought it was the fastest thing in the world. But
and what year is this car manufactured?
That's a good question.
I'm just looking for
So maybe we'd have to look it up. So maybe it was like 2010.
Okay. So relatively newer car.
Yeah, and this was years ago, so it was probably like
a 5-year-old car.
Yeah, maybe 6. Yeah, somewhere around that.
Older
right?
generation of this car.
This company was trying to do like a driving experience. They wanted like build like you go to Speed Vegas and you drive Ferraris and Porsches.
But here's an F1 car,
and you can do the ones with drag racing. You can get in you can ride shotgun with Larry Dixon in his tandem. Funny car, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so when they brought us out there, I forgot the guy's name. The factory Ferrari test driver at the time is Taze. I can't believe I forgot his daughter is Morgan Taze, and she's been in the automotive space and the PR space. I think she heads up like communications for Aston Martin right now. So her father was there. And Sabine Schmidt, I believe. I think she was there as instructors, and they brought out kind of like the Indy car ride along. They brought out like tandems, like an F1 car where the pontoons on the sides you would sit. By the way, it's just a fiberglass bucket with a pillow in it. Like you just kind of flop around.
You hit a wall.
So he drove it, and 2 people ride shotgun to get a feel for it, and then they brought out the Lotus, just a single seat. And
interesting.
And you go. And then, of course, they had like Sabine or somebody like, we're going to show you what the car really can do. And then you don't do that. Yeah. You have like no ability at all to actually do it that way. Right. But it was fun. That's the nuttiest thing I've driven.
That's pretty high on the rank list, getting in an F1 car.
And you know what's crazy is Alex Wacker bought an F1 car. So he's just added that to his collection.
And that's happening now. So now, the big car auctions, these cars are really coming up. They're pulling
there's
money.
So many of them out there too, right?
And what's interesting is a lot of the cars that we grew up watching racing, they're now starting to hit that 20, 25 year mark, which qualifies them to race at the Monterey Rolex Historics, right?
Got it.
because there's still a bunch of vintage racing cars where you look at it and you go, oh, that's cool. And you go, but what do you do with it? You can't really race it yet. You can't bring it to that type of event. But now we start to think about, we're in 2025. That car's only a year 2000 car like qualifies now. And you're like, it didn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was long ago. You think you have to run everything in the 80s, but rally cars, the 80s rally cars are taken off at auctions.
I know Rod Millen still has his. I've seen a few other ones. I'm trying to remember who had one. They had a Mazda 323 GTX, like turbo car. Those cars were so cool. I kind of want to find one. I've looked, you get on Facebook Marketplace and there's like the models like hit your head and you search different towns like Texas and California and New York.
All the perimeter areas.
Yeah. But these like little turbo all-wheel drive cars that existed in the 90s were bitchin' cars. And like now looking back at it, it's like, man, if you find the right cars, you can mod like the all-track Celicas or the 323 GTXs, like the Audi Quattros.
Yeah. Those are pulling pretty big money now.
Those were legit cars here in America for that rally series. But yeah, this brings me to another question. So like, the different cars out there and what we've seen, the car trends, right? Like we've seen rally become big in America and it's kind of like gone in America now. It's not as big as it was. What trend do you think is going to age very poorly, but nobody wants to admit it yet? Right. So,
Formula E.
Yeah.
It's a good try. And I think there's a lot of engineering to be learned there. That I think is worthwhile, but I think they're just going to have a hard time getting some traction with that. They already are, right?
I mean, the biggest part about all of that racing is the wonderful, beautiful symphony of noise you get. And Formula E, it's straight cut gears and the whine of like mechanical devices, and you lose that essence. I mean, you close your eyes at the Grand Prix, it doesn't matter where you are in the seats, you know what you're hearing. And then you get the Formula E car out there, and it's tire grip and tire grip loss, and it's the straight cut gears. It's a very different experience. It just doesn't feel so visceral and connected. Because I get goosebumps still sitting in the stands, with an Indy car going by. Nonetheless, a NASCAR or whatever it is, there's just this certain connection to what internal combustion does.
Absolutely.
And I think it is an essence inside of what racers that I've talked to and get a chance to like go with. It's like, you don't need to look at a tachometer if you can feel it. And I don't think you get that connection with an e-car.
No.
I mean, motorsports, it really is like a lot. Like it's about the spectators. And if it's just kind of underwhelming over there, especially when there are better options, I guess, more entertaining options. I am not
monster trucks.
I'm not an F1 expert by any means, but F1 now saying, listen, we've done a lot with hybrid technology and meeting our whatever their clean air goals are, right? But now they're looking at it going, well, one, all of that electrification is expensive, and two, there's so much more use of e-fuels now. Like the Indy cars are just running like e-fuel, and what Porsche has been doing with racing and e-fuel. F1's looking at it going, well. It's essentially man-made, and it's clean burning, and it's high octane, and like it kind of meets the criteria. And they're going to go, does it meet our clean goals? And if it does, they're having conversations of going, we're going to drop the electrification. We're going to go back to the V10s. We're going to have that sound. And so they're backtracking a little bit going, we understand what the spectators want.
Well, and that's, I think, just generally speaking, we want to be impressed when we watch race vehicles. When you watch dragsters go, it's like, cool, they went fast, but you feel it, right? And
100%.
A couple of years ago, I got invited. I went out with Michelin Tire to Le Mans, the 100th anniversary, and Jimmy Johnson was out there in the NASCAR with this team. And I'm telling you, there was so much shit talking. Like, what is this thing? It's big. It's not going to do well. Just like in the past, right? I'm telling you, that audience down, because Michelin had a couple suites there that you hang out in. And one of them was like above pit row, right in the middle.
Yeah.
And every time that car came at you from down the way, you would see it's just standing out like Godzilla around a bunch of ants. But the whole audience would stand up and cheer because the noise and the power, you just hear it and feel it. It was so obnoxiously awesome, loud. And I will say that by, I don't know, lap 10, and after qualifying, like there was a little bit of, okay, I see what this thing's doing. And then by lap 10, it was like, just a thing. Everyone loved it.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Big Show getting in the ring. Or like, can you imagine the Big Show running track and you're going, this is going to be a joke. And you realize he's a powerful dude. He's fast.
Yes.
You know, and he's an athlete.
Yeah. These cool pictures of all the LMP cars and all the different cars are real low to the ground. Here's this NASCAR coming at you.
Yeah.
But the noise and just you feel it, especially down from like where the grandstands are and then where the whole pit row was and all the suites above it squared off. So all the sound is trapped. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome to witness in real life. Like
How
it was so
Le Mans?
cool. Le Mans is my first time. Man, what an experience at Le Mans. Like mind blowing to see what motorsports is in Europe compared to the United States. Like NASCAR's cool, you know, like if you experience NASCAR with your motorhome in the infield, bicycles and Traegers and beer, you're having a great time. But when you're in Le Mans, it's like everything's so elevated, but in a great way. There's hundreds of thousands of people there. Like it was absolutely massive. And that's what, like an 8-mile course. And, but just the main area where everyone was, my biggest takeaway is if you ever get to go to Le Mans and you can get a campsite on the grass parking lot, there were guys with Bentleys and Rolls Royces and like smaller Volkswagen. Everyone's like pops all their stuff out of the trunk, sets up a tent, cooks and camps, and they're there for like 3 days and everyone's a homie, right? And then they have that passing out. Like that's how I want to go back and do Le Mans.
Yeah. All right, we can camp out of the Bentayga.
Yeah.
Right?
It was
the
wild.
Back of the Bentley.
But that's that car culture. It's that community. It's like you drive your Rolls up there, you drive your Volkswagen up there. At the end of the day, we're fans of that thing on the street, and it's like it's funny how it's just this bond. And I think that's something in this industry that we find. You know, we are fans of F1 at the same time the most exhibition sport like Monster Jam, and it's like we get these contrasting elements, and you'll find the same people there. The age group kind of varies, but I think that's the sliding scale. As you find, the exhibition stuff that's big, loud, obnoxious, and that connects you. And then the next thing is, well, this is something I can go do. And to your point, we deal with this company called Racing 101 that does the Andretti race experience, where you can get into an open wheel car, you can get into a NASCAR, and it's kind of a cool thing that I think was more available, like in our youth, to say, like getting involved in sitting in a car and doing the stupid things that's not on the road that's going to cost you your driver's license, and do a stupid street takeover that's going to cause damage to people, harm, and yourself. It's like we had more accessibility to those things, but I love that there's these companies that are still trying to push to put us in supercars you can go rent, to go put you into a trophy truck you can go drive at Barstow, or get an open wheel. And to your point, that open wheel experience, that helmet lift, we were in these, I think they're 2 generations behind at that time, and this was in the early 2000s. We went there, and it was the Mario Andretti race experience, and everybody here went into one, and we had guys running, 135 mile an hour track times, and then we had guys hitting their rev limiter at top limit, running 171, 172 miles an hour. And there is that point where you're purposely almost, I think, not wearing all the same gear because the car is detuned, but you're in the G-force in the corner and you can't keep your head from leaning out, and it's just so much force going on. It just opens your eyes to how extreme that motorsport is. And then to Jerry's point, that audience that's watching and has an appreciation for it, it's a different thing. And I found you leave the United States where you have so much variety and availability. Those things are top echelon things that only the very few get to experience, and it's at a festival like that,
Yeah.
Here we got so much going on all the time.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like, you hear the numbers of certain models of cars like dropping and declining in sales, and they're popular cars, right? And then you go to a place like the Long Beach Grand Prix, and we had the Mother's Paddock there, and there's just Ferraris and Porsches and Lambo, like just full of cars, which that's the modern day hot rod today. Yeah. Like these cars aren't cheap. But there's a huge crowd of people, whether, say they're Porsche people, right? They buy a 996, which is a 99 to 04 Porsche for 25 grand, and they have a Porsche. And it's a great, fantastic car. And then there's the guys that show up in the GT3 RSs, right? At the higher end, or the GT2 RSs, mixed with the Ferraris and Lambos. But there's old and new. You have a car. But that's one takeaway I had this year at the Long Beach Grand Prix, was a realization of, like, people have really stepped up into the car culture, and they're buying these other cars that just mind-blowing performance. Like, everything's over a G in the skid pad. Yeah. Everything's 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or less. Like you said, the McLaren 720 earlier is like, that's a car that I remember when it just got released and there was this big buzz around it, right? And everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's a 720. And all the kids with the cameras would follow it. And now you could buy that car used, which James, who owns South OC Cars and Coffee, he just picked one up and he's tricking it out. He helps out VF Engineering and tuning it. This thing's over 1,000 horsepower, just street lethal weapon. Like, the thing's so badass.
I mean, I don't think it needs a lot of extra power, but that's kind of what we all do, right?
Yeah, that's what we do, is modifying.
Yeah, which is enough. Come on.
Yeah, and it's plenty of power stock, right? But I want to end this podcast today on what you do with cars and your cars. So from, I don't know, restoring cars, owning cars, I want to hear about your cars.
Yeah, okay.
I hear you have some cool stuff.
I've got a couple. I don't by any means have like a big expensive collection, and somehow I don't have like an actual shop. I've just done stuff. Like, I had a warehouse for a little bit, and it got expensive. And I just realized we've done 5 SEMA cars. Some are easier than others, but I grew up around the Fox body Mustang. So I've had a few of those over my life.
Do you have one now?
I do. It doesn't run.
Okay. Which one do you have?
So I have a 93 Cobra.
Okay.
That
bitchin' car.
That actually we had it with MagnaFlow.
Okay.
When was that? Maybe 17, 18?
Yeah, it was just before the kind of heyday of SEMA in 2019. So it was a couple of years before that.
Yeah. And then we had the black truck after that.
Yes, the Lightning.
So maybe the car was 16 and then the truck was like 19.
I think it had to been like 16 and 18, because 19
16
I don't.
And
yeah,
18.
Yeah,
I just think so.
Yeah.
And what? So
I have a 93 Cobra that did some work on. That one was sort of meant to be period correct modifications. So,
okay.
So the Fox body nerds, it's original like GT40 3-bar heads, the iron heads, poured it out and stuff. Did old school. We had the original Cobra intake, extrude hone ported, which was a thing.
That was a thing back then.
And in the early 90s, mid 90s, like that was the way to do it. And I reached out to them, like, do you guys still do that? And they're like, yeah, it's weird. It's making a comeback.
Yeah.
I go,
so who did that? Did Coast Performance help you with any of that?
No. Extrude Hone did it. They have a facility in Paramount.
Yeah.
Like,
they're close.
Yeah.
One of my good friends growing up, like, him and his brother shared a Mustang GT convertible.
Yeah, it was my brother and I in high school.
Yeah, and then they both wound up with one. One of them was like the blue with the gray, and the other one got a red one. And we just thought it was hilarious. I was back in the Cruise and Balboa days, so that I've lived every mod, the short throw shifters and the extrude hone and all the different things.
Yeah, we were, learning as we went,
100%.
Swapping cylinder heads, putting nitrous kits on, blowing stuff up, just as we were learning. Like, and my mom at the time, she's like, you're doing all this crap in my driveway in the garage. But really, she's just like, my sons are hanging out together and they're at home. Like, there's worse things that they could be doing, right? We brought the red 93 Cobra to SEMA. That's a very cool car. We got a few things that I changed on it. So redoing some stuff to get it running. We're swapping out the supercharger on it, a Pro Charger on it. I have a 95 Ford Lightning.
Okay.
That's the black truck, the regular cab.
If Jerry had it, it would go a different direction.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's lower. So, a straight truck like it's supposed to be.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
That had an original Ford Motorsport catalog supercharger
on it. I found one of those about 3 years ago, and it was $18,000. And I'm like, gosh, $18,000 for a used Lightning with the supercharger. It had like 100,000 miles, not a high mileage one. And I
paid
myself.
less for mine.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But $18,000 was so much money for that truck. I mean, these trucks should be like, $12,000. I kicked myself for not buying them because it's the factory belt-driven supercharger, right?
Yeah.
Like the one that like Paxton, but I think it's Vortec that makes it for Ford.
So Vortec was making it actually. So Powerdyne, which was a B&M blower for a while,
Is
they
that
bought
who made
Powerdyne.
them?
Powerdyne did a deal with Ford Motorsport,
And that was the factory one.
Yeah, no, you get it from the Ford Motorsport catalog. The Gen 2 Lightning had the factory.
No, that came factory. Okay, so anyone
the
who
Gen 1, it was a guy in the Midwest that worked at the Ford dealer, bought it new. He worked in the service department. He went to the Motorsport catalog.
So the Motorsport catalog was Powerdyne.
Powerdyne.
Okay.
And it's got the Ford Motorsport plate riveted on it.
Yeah, and it's got
an EO number.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. It's a terrible little blower, but
it's a non-intercooled blower on top of it.
But it's a
fun
cool
for the street to do that, like couple of pulls, right?
Yeah. So, and I drove that around for a while too. I have a lot of fun with that truck.
Yeah.
I've got that's also going to get redone. I've been building an all aluminum Dart 427.
Oh, how cool
for it. And that's going to have a big Pro Charger on it as well. It's got the original GT40 intake that we ported. We cut and ported, did a lot of work on it. It was funny is because both of those cars were Pro Charger. And I've been telling Pro Charger for the longest time, it's like every front engine accessory drive for these is terrible looking. We need to make one. And I was even mocking one up, and then their engineer reached out and he's like, we're going to start doing something. And a couple years ago at PRI that I went to, they launched an LS kit.
Oh,
and
nice.
They're like, I haven't done the Ford kit yet. We'll get to it. This took 5 or 6 years, almost 6 years, I guess. And when I went to SEMA this past year, I think I had just left your booth and I was walking toward Pro Charger and I saw the guys I didn't know. They're like, hey, Matt, they're like, come over here. And I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? Why are they calling me over to Pro Charger? And he goes, here it is. And he goes, cool. 6 years after you asked us for it, we have a front engine accessory drive for Fords, for small block Fords that is modular and you can put the Pro Charger on it. You can actually buy the kit without the Pro Charger, then add the Pro Charger to it. And I was like, all that back and forth, all the sketches we've done, the mock-ups, we finally have got it done. So that's kind of eye-opening. And they have a 302 and a 351 kit. Yeah. So that's exactly what I need for the two. So I've got the 93 Cobra, I've got the 95 Mustang, I've got a 2022 Ford Lightning. It's an electric truck. It's plugged into the building somewhere. And when I got it, so doing the podcast for so long, CarCast, I do once a week with Goldberg, the WWE wrestler, and once a week, it's a partnership with Edmunds.com, with their editor-in-chief. Really great guy, Alistair Weaver. But in doing that show, we talk a lot about new car stuff and drive new cars. And I just kind of felt like EV is a thing. Like it or don't like it, it's a thing. And we need to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be fun because I have an old Lightning to get the new Lightning. And then prices dropped and you lose your ass on it. But in California, I can get in the carpool lane and I can drive down here because I got the sticker.
No, they totally make sense here.
It's quiet. It's quick.
Yeah.
And
my neighbor has one. It's kind of cool.
But it's not all funky like some of the EVs because people.
It's an F-150 truck.
That's it. People are like, how is the lighting? I go, have you driven an F-150 Platinum? They're like, yeah. I go, it's that, but it's quiet, and it's fast.
Yeah,
that's pretty
you're
much
not going to buy one to tow your boat to the river and like use it as that type of truck. But when you're around town and you need a truck, And, I'm in this struggle right now, right? I've had a bunch of different Raptors that have tricked out and you go off-roading and I'm looking for like that daily driver, right? And it's like, as lame as it sounds, I was like, well, the Tesla is kind of cool when you buy a used Model Y for, under like call it 28 grand.
Yeah.
You plug it in the wall, you drive it around town, you come home, you plug it in the wall. It's actually more convenient than going to a gas station if you're just using it for that. Right?
I have stuff in the back of my truck all the time.
Yeah.
And this beverage company that we have, I go around and do tasting events. So there's signage, 100%. There's all kinds of stuff. All my gear is organized in the bed.
It's all
locked up.
Truck.
It's closed. It's locked up. And you're right. In LA, especially in LA where it's just so busy, I haven't gone to a gas station in 2 years. Like I just haven't. I mean, occasionally for press cars. I don't sit in the Costco line for gas. I don't really have to do that. But when I want to go out and have fun, I have the 21 Mustang Mach 1 that we also did for SEMA, which is a little
slightly modified.
Slightly modified.
Yeah.
That one's got all the fun stuff on it. Working with MagnaFlow, working with Anderson Composites. It's got carbon fiber all around it. And we went back and forth on a hood. So it has a hood with a scoop, sort of a Mach 1 style scoop, but it's a little more modern. We lengthened it a little bit. We gave it a little personality to match the contours of the roof of it. It's got Steeda suspension, it's got HRA wheels, it's got MagnaFlow exhaust, it's got the carbon fiber tips that we did. It matches the rest.
All the goody X-Mod stuff.
Yeah.
It's got the cool stuff on it and the valves and stuff so we can change it. And it's got a little bit of a turbo kit on it.
Yeah, just a little twin turbo.
We worked with Hellion. They were Hellion out of New Mexico was working with SEMA Garage on getting their twin turbo kits, legal. And we've got pretty much like the first one I think they did. So it is a fully smog tested. I think they're waiting for some paperwork on it, but it's a twin turbo kit that, we've got it dialed into 91 octane, terrible California gas. And
it still makes good power. It sounds wicked. And this is the great part about their kit, which the love from the design. It's our standard bolt-on exhaust.
Yeah.
You think turbocharger these days, and most of the time you're doing custom everything behind the turbo back. This one bolts up, uses factory cats, and the cat back is your choice exhaust. So, of course, you're putting a MagnaFlow on it, but the fact you get to put our X-Mod system on behind the turbo system, you get the ability to change the sound, alter the sound, no drone. And it's what's the street legal setting I think they have it for?
I think you buy the kit, it's like 7 or 8 pounds. But when we were tuning it, we added a little boost controller. Maybe it's the E-Boost. I don't know. It's in the glove compartment, and I never really get to mess with it because I really don't need to. But it's a really cool kit. So the turbo is
like 700 horsepower.
Yeah. So it's when I started building it, the word was like manual transmissions are dying. Nobody wants them. By the way, now they're making a comeback. Ferrari's even talking about doing manual transmission cars again. And the GT500 came out, and we're like, it's cool, it's fast, it's fun, but it's paddle shift and it's turning into the supercar. Yeah. The Mach 1 came out with the upgraded Tremec transmission. I was like, what can I do there? And I said, so let's get a manual transmission Mach 1. All right, GT500 supercharged with paddles. I'm going to go manual and turbos. And their kit is cool because, as you said, to be emissions legal, you can't mess with the catalytic converters. You can't change them. You can't replace them. You can't swap them out. You can't do anything to it. So they took the exhaust manifold and they made their own little shorty header that goes right to the turbo that bolts right up to the cat.
Yeah.
So everything else is factory. And the packaging of that also, by the way, moves the turbos kind of down low and behind the engine, so better weight transfer there, better weight.
You pop the hood, you're not seeing twin turbos.
You don't see anything underneath. There's an intercooler in the front, and it runs 2 tubes into the intercooler and then into the engine. So we brought it out to I brought it out to Full Throttle Customs. Ray McClellan's friend. He was on Car Warriors and stuff with Brad Fanchon, Jimmy Shine back in the day. He's tuned a bunch of cars for me and for Adam Carolla, and he's got the Mustang dyno. If you're familiar with that, a little different than a dyno jet. It puts a load on it, so the numbers often come a little bit lower. So just to put things into perspective, so I think we're running like 10 pounds of boost. We did 630 at the tires on that, but when you do the configurations, it's about 750 crank horsepower. Yeah, that's on 91 pump gas. That's
it's wild.
Gas here, we
go have the least favorable MTB enhanced.
Yeah, go anywhere good, even 93. Yeah. And then, he asked me, do you want to run it on E85? And I was like, I don't know that it needs to be that. Like, we could chase that horsepower number, but I didn't build a racing car by any means. Like, it's got a huge sound system with Focal and it's all DSP tuned. We ran microphones in it. We ran analyzer. Like, we did all the cool stuff on it. It's got some sound deadening in it, but you're right. So what's funny now is I drove it around for a while, and you hear the turbos, but you don't realize because with the sound deadener and everything.
Yeah,
it's
and then
subtle.
I went to an event, and a friend of mine was there in his Porsche, and he came out, turbos on that thing, and I came out next to him, and he's like, your car sounds sick. And I forgot. I was like, I should roll down the windows. You roll down the windows, you're like,
then you hear it.
There's just not a lot of V8 turbo cars out there anymore. And you're like, and with 302 displacement, like
it's moving some air.
Yeah.
It's moving some air. So
absolutely.
You crack the windows a little bit, and you realize that thing sounds nuts.
So with the stereo you have in there, how many subs?
There's 2. There's 10s. Okay. There's 2 10s, and then
you're kind of bringing me back.
Yeah. Trust me, this small group of audio files is not just for the audio side; it's also the exhaust side.
So for sure.
I'm still like a big fan of it. The Ford Lightning, we did a system in that. We made A-pillars and stuff.
Did you do the whole thing?
Yeah, that was all JL stuff. The Mustang is all Focal and Moscone.
Yeah.
And the factory 10-inch woofer on that side had a great fabricator help me out, and we ended up fitting 2 10s in that side, 2 like shallow Focal flax 10s if you're being nerdy about it. And then the spare tire well doesn't really have a spare tire. It's just got like the little inflator pump or whatever. So we took that out. We built kind of a false floor, and it's got 2 big amps. It's got the DSP in it.
Okay.
And it's actually cool. So it's got the regular mat that you can put on it, like that just sits over the spare tire.
So it all looks
and when you lift it up, it's all
plexiglass.
It's lit up and it's on display, and it's got some cool stuff on it.
But it's all hidden.
Yeah, and we brought in some carbon fiber pieces to match the front. There's a theme to it. And then all in the doors in the back, it's all Focal stuff, custom A-pillars.
Yeah, kind of.
But it's very subtle. It's not
over the top.
It's an audio file system, not a stubber.
It's a full-on SQ system, as they say. Like it's a.
Yeah, we're going to be at Jeep Beach next week.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
of subwoofers.
Like literally, there'll be like 32 12-inch woofers in a Jeep. Yeah.
Someone sent me the video of the RC cars with all the little woofers in the back, and I was like,
dude, they're low riders with Bluetooth speaker subs used for that,
and they're all pumping.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's just a bunch of guys sitting around, and all the cars are doing the thing. And I was like, I know you've seen that. Yeah. I know you've seen that. Yeah.
So cool.
You know the little funny story about that car too, because I love the build on that Mach 1 as it happened. We actually featured it here in the lobby for a while.
Yeah.
And when we got it, you were still in the middle of the build, so you had like a door panel off, so I couldn't hear the audio. You had you just got it back from the track, and you had a track day, so you had the race tune on the suspension. You had like extra camber added, and you had the those tires factory.
Oh yeah, you were driving around on the Pilot Cup Sport 2s on it, and it started to rain.
And then the day I'm going to drive it back to you, it's torrential downpour, and I am white knuckling this thing because I'm driving through crappy LA freaking pothole streets in a car that I want to hear the audio, that I want to feel the power, and I'm doing like traffic 15 mile an hour stop, slowing down for puddles and just driving and putt-putting. I'm like, that's my only experience with that car. So
actually, so the audio wasn't tuned and the engine wasn't fully tuned.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the boost controller, and there was a few flaws in it. It was, when you drove it, it was 530 horsepower in the tires. And then after we tuned it, we got another 100 out of it.
I was just super disappointed that all the cool things about that car. And while it was here, the one day I get to drive it back to you, I could do nothing.
And I was going to bring it down here as well. But I was like, it's going to be so much traffic and I'm going to sit in the traffic. But I was going to bring it down for you. But yeah, it worked out cool. We'll have to.
I want to see this car.
We'll have to
I want to hear the stereo.
Get you in it again. Yeah.
I love those JL stealth boxes they make for the F-150s, right? It's like one 13-inch speaker
it's
under
great.
the back seat.
Yeah.
I had one in my Raptor because the Raptor has that whole B&O system. It sounds good. It's not the best, but it sounds good. You add that one sub, just changes the whole dynamic.
It does, but you lose some storage underneath. So there's some pretty cool turnkey packages now. Yeah. So gone are sort of the passive crossovers, and now everything's active on a good system with a good DSP. Yeah. There's lots of tuning. You put microphones in there. I think Focal uses, or Moscone uses, a system called Barney. I don't know what the acronym is, but it's like a foam head with microphones in it. And that's what we ended up using to tune the system. And then I have a little bit of a controller for the Moscone DSP, so you can mess around with the bass a little bit. But it's not super bass heavy. But it's loud.
It's loud.
It's good.
Yeah, the biggest thing is like getting an old iPhone and loading up music, like good big audio files. People don't realize, like, you know, they use our iTunes or whatever, and it's just so degraded on the sound quality that what a difference it makes, even in your stock system when you have the higher quality. If you go into your iPhone settings and turn on all high quality on your music, it makes such a big difference.
On my phone, not streaming like downloaded onto my phone, I have a few albums, a few tracks that I burnt from CDs at the high quality. Yeah. And I know you're not going to get the full,
it's not putting a CD in there.
Yeah, it's not going to get the full because you're still plugging it into the cable. And like, if you went to one of the hi-fi players and the system, like Alpine's got some stuff that, but it's still better than what you'd get on the radio. And we have Sirius XM that sounds good, but Sirius XM doesn't.
There's a bass roll off,
but they don't disclose the sound quality that they have, and maybe it's variable. I'm not quite sure.
It's based on your streaming rate, and that's. I mean, as an ex audiophile, my good guys years, it's like you want something with the maximum sampling DA converter. Back in the day was like Sony ES had like Burr Brown converters, and you were getting the most amount of sampling, least amount of sawtooth sine wave. So whenever you reproduced it and made it louder through an amplifier, because that's also a transistorized stepper, unless you got a Class A amp in your car. It's like you're taking that whole telephone effect where you're amplifying noise on noise on noise. Yeah. And today we're kind of used to it, which that's my old ear. I still have Klipsch corner horn sitting in my house at home. And it's like, I step into my car, even in a high-end audio system, B&O, you name it, Levinston, it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah.
It's not. And most of those are just licensing deals at this point.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and weight savings is a thing. I mean, you're always finding the smallest amp, paper woofers, in your factory system. So
but you're just like controlled by that head unit, that's, unless you swap it all out and go like older vintage and get the good stuff, it's like not going to
but like you said, these days we mostly stream off the phone for the good stuff.
I think we've lowered our toleration of noise and all that. So
for sure. Well, cool. That's an awesome show today. Love hearing about your cars. I love those older Fords. I want to see the newer Ford, not the Lightning, but the Mustang.
The Mustang,
My neighbor has a Lightning, so I've already
looked at it. But even the Lightning, we had fun at SEMA this year. We teamed up with Real Truck, who Lee Reiser over there. She runs marketing, I think. she's just the sweetest person ever. It's funny because she's like, I was like, hey, what are you guys doing for SEMA this year? And she said, we've got a huge booth, one of the largest aside from the OEs. It's going to be great. We're going to put 12 trucks in the booth. And I said, what are your new parts? She's like, really cool new power tonneau cover. It's Bluetooth. You can control it with your phone.
That's cool.
I said, but every truck in your booth is going to be lifted, right? She's like, yeah. And I said, well, why don't I lower my truck and bring it out there? She's like,
so you
perfect,
lowered
done.
your Lightning.
Yeah,
okay.
Done. Yeah, Ibach,
nice.
lowered it. And it's still got power running boards that kind of fold up, and it's got a big LED strip, and it's meant to kind of match the Lightning and the power tonneau cover. And then when we brought it out, Ford, who I do have a good relationship with, I love working with them. Ford did a deal with a partner, I think out of Australia or something called N Plus, and they do e-bikes. They did a Mustang branded e-bike and a Bronco e-bike, and it's really cool technology. They kind of make the dash look like the car. It's fast. It's like a big 750, whatever kilowatt battery in it. So it's got long range, big power, full suspension on it. It's cool. And I said, hey, we're going to SEMA with Real Truck. We got the truck lowered. They've got new bike racks. Yeah. Let's bring one out there.
Oh, cool.
And we just happened to get shipped to us the one Bronco e-bike that was like in the country. Nice. They were photographing it in the desert. We were loading in Monday, and Monday night, some guy in the pickup truck dropped it off like in front of West Hall. And he's like, I just finished shooting it in the desert. I was like, dude, it's covered in dirt. Like it's completely covered in dirt. He's like, yeah, they said drop it off. I was like, man.
Welcome to SEMA.
Yeah. And then.
Well, at least the bike looked like it was used.
No, we ended up figuring out how to clean it. Again, we walked in, and then Lee had a whole team. I was like, this bike's covered in dirt. What do we do? She's like, I got you. And when I walked it in, there was like 3 people standing there with gear, and they all cleaned it. We put it up there, and it was a cool piece because we were able to show it off. And then like 2 booths down was Ford Performance, and they were coming over going, we didn't even know we had that deal in place. I'm like, this is new. Like nobody, the press release came out like 2 weeks ago. We got the first bike.
There you go.
So it was cool to be able to show that off.
Awesome.
Well, it's cool. All of these industry events and kind of things to do. And that's kind of the interesting part that you brought to the industry is that you have had this very unique opportunity to work like producing movies, podcasting and the digital framework of creating software before when it was forums and the digital world. Yeah. And really now, working on the forefront with like podcasting with, Goldberg, we love him. We always seem to have crossing over conversations. But really, where can people find out like what's going on with you? Your socials and kind of like what goes on with everything that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for that. So Instagram is probably the easiest. At Motorator, just like it sounds. It's Motor, ATOR, up there. CarCast show is the website. CarCast is the podcast. You guys can subscribe on.
Already there.
Yeah, it's on all the, iTunes, Spotify, wherever. It's been around for a long time. It's probably the best ways to find us on social media, and you get a little bit of everything that we're doing there. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Matt, for being here, and thanks for all the opportunities to kind of get some of those cool stories out. I know there's even more to talk about, so we'll definitely have you back on. And my name again, of course, is Rich Waitas, and you can find me on my socials at IG at OXIDIZR.
And I'm Jerry Zaiden. You could find me at Jerry Zaiden on all social media channels. And for the MF show, you can find us on YouTube at MagnaFlow TV and everywhere else at MagnaFlow. This has been the MF show.